Tree. Tracks.
Let's cross right here so we don't have to climb it.
Oh, come here.
Oh, yeah.
Tree. Tracks.
Tammy. Whose hair looks awful this morning.
Well, and?
At least I got hair, look.
Well, it's true. It's Tim and Tammy time.
Yes, it is. And we're here close to the Columbus Riverwalk where we're going to tell the story of Blind Tom, a slave from the 1800s.
Speaking of blind, you really shouldn't look up at the sun.
But you're going to.
Because you could get blind. So, where are we going?
We're going to go left, but
we're going to cross the railroad tracks.
Climb that hill over there, see?
We got to cross the railroad tracks first.
Yeah, don't get your foot caught. You know what happens if you get your foot caught. We've seen frag ring buddies.
Oh boy, twin trees. Well, not quite twins. More like twins like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito was.
Yeah, well, he's kind of got a, one's a hunchback, ain't it?
Okay.
See the river's right there.
Yeah, river is just right over there.
Gazebos down through here, you know what?
Yeah, they do.
I wonder what that's about.
How often you see a sidewalk right next to a train track?
That track don't run.
Yeah, I know.
Of course, that track probably never did run. Trains might have gone up that, but I doubt it ever run.
How far are we going?
Not much further. It's just around the bend. It's just past this little outdoor theater thing here.
This is an outside theater. And there's the Chattahoochee River. Obviously in uptown Columbus. Oh, look at here. Look what's coming. Fishing boat. Making quite a bit of noise too. Got a couple of cannons down here.
How high the bridge is down
Oh yeah.
there. It's a high bridge, but yeah, play with that.
Oh, we've taken these before, I think, but
I don't know we did. I feel like we did. It doesn't matter.
okay, get behind it.
Ready?
No, Tammy, don't shoot us.
Hey, the wheels are buried in the ground.
Are we going
We're going to this one.
going to that level? Okay.
You can go down to that level and get some shots of the river.
Well, we'll still do that. Always nice to see the Chattahoochee River. Way down yonder. In
Way down yonder on the Chattahoochee. It gets hotter than
Yeah, yeah, okay. I'm not very good at singing songs, obviously.
There's a kayak over there, and there's a sign that says kayak. Sup?
I don't know.
Okay.
Let's see what it says. Kayaks up. I've been saying, hey kayaks, sup? You know, what's up? Okay, hand it over to
They got one for Horace King, too.
Miss Tammy
I'm
here.
going to read this, and then, you know, we can walk and talk about this, but this is a landmark of American music to Thomas Green Bethune, Blind Tom. He was born in 1849 and he died in 1908. Columbus, Georgia was the home of one of America's distinguished black pianists and composers. Okay. Now, when little Tom was born in 1849, he was born blind. And his family belonged to an owner who was not known to be very kind. He was a mean man, okay? There's no other way to put it. When you think about it, there ain't no way to put it. And he would kill the slaves that were handicapped, and little Tom being born blind, his mama knew that the man who owned him was going to kill him. So his mama then hid him. She kept him hid as long as she could. And then her owner got into some financial trouble, and he announced, and he put an ad in the paper, and this all happened right here in Columbus, Georgia. He put an ad in the paper, said he was going to sell some of his slaves. So Thomas's mama and daddy went and flagged down a general who had been, this was pre-Civil War days, so I don't know exactly which wars he was in, maybe the Mexican-American, I'm not sure, but they flagged him down, and Thomas's mama begged him, because he was known to be a kind man, to buy her entire family, because she was also afraid that her owner was going to sell her away separately from her husband and her family. And she had a lot of children. So she went and begged this man to buy her and her family. And he said that he couldn't, because he didn't have need for field hands. He had some slaves inside that took care of his house, servants, but he didn't have a need for field hands. So he told her no, and she felt like her spirits were broken, because she was afraid of the future. And the day of the sale, they went and they were put up. The man that she had asked, and he was a general, and I think his last name was Bethune. That's where that last name comes from that Thomas had, I think. I could be wrong about that. But anyway, he bought that whole family. And when he took that family home, his wife said, "What? You brought more people for me to feed and take care of, and I've got too many already." But in this house, they were well off, and I think they had 7 children, and all 7 of their children played music. Well, blind Tom, you know, like most people who have a handicap, there was another part of his body that kind of took over, and his was the ear. He had the ear, and he copied everything he heard. He copied animals, and the children would play their music, or they were singing one day, and the window was open, and they heard another voice joining in harmony with their singing. And they looked out the window, and it was Tom, and he was laying there looking up at the sky like he was watching the song go over his head. He couldn't see them, but that's what they said. He looked like the song was going over his head. And he was just, he could do from alto to soprano. He could match them perfectly. And they told their daddy about it. The daddy, he heard it, and he bought a piano. And one day he would get this blind Tom had outburst. As you know, they say that today he would be considered autistic, but then they didn't know. But one day, one of the little girls was playing the piano, and he came in. She stopped playing the piano, and he got angry, and he pushed her out of the way, and he sat down at the piano, and he played exactly what she had just played, start to finish. He played it all. Well, the father then decided, the general or whatever he was, he decided then that he would take blind Tom, and they lived their life on the road. He took him away from home. Some people say he was 8 years old, others say it was as early as 5. But the general took him away, and they started living on the road. And I don't know if he ever came back and saw his mama or not. But he was very successful. He was mentioned by Mark Twain. Mark Twain said that he had a gift. Mark Twain, basically, this is my own words, said that he had a gift from heaven. But Harry Houdini called him a fraud. A psychic fraud, which is kind of amazing when you think about it. But anyway, he continued his life living on the road, and even after the Emancipation Proclamation took place, they didn't free him. They didn't let him go. They kept him, and they took care of him, but they kept him away from his family and from his mama. His mama died when she was 100 years old, and we don't know if she ever saw that child again. That's the sad part of this story. That's the part that breaks my heart. This was her baby. She saved his life, that's true, but then he he was taken away for all of his life. But he lived a good life as far as financial. He was taken care of. And his family was taken care of through the money that he made. The controversy here, he died, he had a stroke. He had a stroke in Brooklyn, New York. And the controversy here says that he was buried in Brooklyn, and he may be. I don't know whether he is or not. However, they lobbied to have him brought back to Columbus. So it's told that he is buried where the Bethune plantation was at, and that he's right here in Columbus. The ghost story part comes in that people on Warm Springs Road, also right here in Columbus, they traveling on Warm Springs Road at night, they say sometimes they see a young black child dressed in a long white t-shirt, which is basically what children wore back in the 1800s, just a t-shirt, just a long white gown of sorts. That he looks like he's walking around oblivious to what he sees. When it comes to ghost stories, I don't know exactly what I believe, but I'm not going to discount anything that anybody has ever said because I wasn't there, I didn't see it, I don't know. However, I've never encountered a ghost myself. And when I tell a ghost story, it's usually from something I've read. In fact, the whole Columbus Ghost Trail are stories that I have read in books throughout my life. And I have a bookcase full of books about folklore and ghosts in Columbus. But that's my story this morning. That's my ghost story, Blind Tom. I think there's a little triumph there in that, even though I don't know if the triumph outweighs what I consider the tragedy, which I couldn't lose my baby at 5 years old, and there's not anything a slave could do about it. She had no recourse. But she saved that child. He did live, and he lived a good life. Thanks for watching. Please like, please subscribe.